What's up, guys? My name is Spencer Turley, and in this video I'm just going to be talking about kind of my favorite Call of Duties, or my favorite Call of Duty. Let me just first of all let you guys know I'm doing all this live, so there could be hackers in here, who knows, but there's no telling what's going to happen. So anyway, now that I've said that, let me just go ahead and say I've pretty much played like every single Call of Duty, I'm pretty sure. So like 1, 2, and 3, I played all those way back in the day, like at a friend's house or something. But when I actually really got into it with Xbox Live and stuff, it was like right at the Call of Duty 5 day, World at War. So this is the first one I really got into, and then kind of after this, I went back and bought Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4. So I kind of did that part of it a little backwards, but I know most people, the hardcore OGs, started on Call of Duty 4, and see, Call of Duty 4 was just so innovative. No one even knew you could do half the crap that Call of Duty 4 did, so it was pretty crazy. But I think the reason why, see, Call of Duty 4 and 5 are really, really super close to me as far as like how good they are, but I feel like Call of Duty 5 edges out just a little bit, simply because Call of Duty 5 is kind of the one I really started on. You know, it's always going to kind of have that sentimental kind of nostalgia to it, if that makes sense. So it's just always going to have that feeling for me, but and it seemed like this was the most realistic Call of Duty to me, just with the blood and the gore and the blowing the arms and legs and stuff off. After this Call of Duty, it was like when you shot somebody, there was barely any blood and like money popped out of them. It was the weirdest thing, man. I don't know. It seemed like after Call of Duty 4 and 5, all the Call of Duties kind of went somewhat downhill for me. And let me just let you guys know, I never hated on any Call of Duty. I was never like, oh, this is the worst Call of Duty or anything like that. I definitely have my favorites, and I knew some were not as good as others, but the thing about it is you kind of got to accept how it is, and that's just, it's not like you can just change the way the Call of Duty is. However it's going to be that year is however it's going to be that year. So, but some of them, they've just kind of, at least some of the newer Call of Duties have been not all that great. It's just, I feel like they're trying to do so much, and they just need to bring it back to more of a basic level, you know, and they'll get it closer to what we all loved in the first place. So but they've got to get it more on a realistic feeling, you know. They've gotten so far away from that it's like they've tried to make everything like kid friendly, and you're shooting people, so why are we not blowing arms and legs off when it was in Call of Duty 5? That's just one thing that didn't make any sense to me. But you know what I mean, though? It's like it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense that it just seemed like Call of Duty 5 had it, you know. It had everything that I wanted in a Call of Duty, and just so much fun, like just all the different buildings and stuff, and the cover you could hide behind, just so gritty and realistic. It seemed like all these new ones are so smoothed out, and everything's like I said, like kid-friendly and smoothed out. This one was so gritty and realistic, and it's pretty crazy that I can compare this old Call of Duty to some of the newer ones. I mean, this is an old game, man, you know, and to be able to still compare it is pretty crazy. But and this was kind of like the final heyday Call of Duty to me. And I know a lot of you guys are going to say Modern Warfare 2 was the real heyday, and I completely can understand where you're coming from. But see, how it went is like Call of Duty 4, there was some people on it, and it was like so revolutionary. The online play with it and everything was just such a crazy thing. No one even knew that you could do any of that kind of stuff. So look at the legs blowing off right there. Oh, it's amazing. But no one even knew the stuff you could do with Call of Duty 4, and then it seemed like Call of Duty 5 came out and everybody kind of knew what to expect, and then it was like, okay, then everybody got hardcore into Call of Duty 5, you know, and also it was kind of went back to the roots and felt like the original ones. But then it was like and like more of the hardcore people had the Call of Duty 5, you know, they really got into it at that point. Now I'm saying the OGs got into it at Call of Duty 4, but Call of Duty 5 is the one, like I'm saying, where it seemed like it really captured those hardcore first-person shooter fans. Really got into Call of Duty 5, you know, and then Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 came out, and then it was like everybody and their grandmother had it, you know. It was like that's when it really hit super mainstream. So, oh man, I almost had the dogs right there, but it seemed like Modern Warfare 2 is when it went just, you know, golden, super mainstream. And I thought Modern Warfare 2 was okay, but I still don't think it was as good as 4 and 5, like not even close. I don't think any of them will ever compare to Call of Duty 4 and 5. You just can't beat them, man. Like, I know a lot of you guys are going to say, oh, you're just being nostalgic and you can't accept anything new. I can already see that in the comments, but it's not like that. Like I'm saying, I don't hate on the newer Call of Duties. I just still don't think they're anything to to 4 and 5. Like, they're just not going to compare to it, you know? These Call of Duty 4 and 5 is what really made this whole, like, first-person shooter, like, become super mainstream. You know, Call of Duty is kind of what really did that, you know, the online multiplayer first-person shooter. I know there's plenty of games before that, but it seemed like Call of Duty is what made it just ultimate mainstream action, you know? It's like like I'm saying, everybody and their grandmother had it, and then it just, I don't know, man. It's like they try to cater more to the just average person instead of it being like hardcore Call of Duty, and I think that's kind of where they started going wrong. But also with this game, talking about things just being straight up normal, with the zombies, like, this is the first real game that had, definitely the first Call of Duty that had something as big as zombies just in there. If zombies could have been a game in itself, you know, and it was just in this game. So that's one thing that drawed me to this game as well, at the very beginning, because it seemed like the zombies on Call of Duty is really what struck this, like, every game needs to have zombies in it kind of thing, and it all started here. Like, I know there's zombie games and stuff before, but I'm just, you know what I'm saying, like, it's really what like brought zombies to that popular level, because everybody loved it in this game, and it just had such the basic survival zombies, you know, how far could you last? And it was like I would play split screen with my buddies, and there was nothing more fun than that, man, trying to survive, and as long as you could, and the zombies, it had that all creepy feeling to it, and man, that was so much fun, so realistic, you know, blowing heads and arms off on the zombies. And it seems like nowadays with the whole, like, it's more objective based than it is just straight up survival. You know, I don't really like the way they've kind of went with zombies, and I've loved it on this game. So there's just a few things like that, but yeah, this is definitely my favorite Call of Duty for sure, Call of Duty 5, and but I love Call of Duty 4 as well. I mean, they're very, very, very close. Call of Duty 4 and 5 for me are like just so close, it's not even funny. But the only reason I can edge this one out ever so slightly is because I started on it, and because it's the most realistic to me. So that's kind of why I edged this one out just a little bit. But in the maps back in the day, it seemed like, and I know some of you guys are going to be like, oh, you're just nostalgic. I can already hear it, you know, that same thing over and over and over. But I'm just saying, it seemed like the maps back in the day had such a realism to it. You know, it seemed like some of these newer Call of Duties have such, like, just it's so much more arcadey, it seems like nowadays, instead of it being realistic. And I understand this is not a Battlefield, but I still like these games to be realistic, you know. But it seemed like some of the newer Call of Duties, it's like such straight up sight lines, and it's like, so instead of it being actually like a strategic place yourself on the map and hide here and there, it's like these 3 sight lines on every single map, and every single map feels the same, and it's just kind of got that weird feeling to the newer Call of Duties. But it seemed like these older, that dude's trying to kill me. It seems like, whoa, oh my gosh, that was crazy. I didn't think I was actually going to die, but I did. But yeah, it just seemed like these older ones just had such unique maps and so many different, like, buildings, and you just got in such awesome gun battles and stuff back in the day. And with the way that the actual time to kill and everything was, you just got in such fun gun battles, and the way the guns were so good balanced back in the day. It seemed like there was no real crazy powerful gun or something like that. It seemed like everything kind of just made sense, you know. And also, like, with the guns you unlocked later, they actually were easier, like, somewhat better of guns. I wouldn't say they were overpowered, but the guns I'm talking about, it's like the PTRS and the PPSH, the Peesh, and kind of like the M1 carbine, however you want to say it. So that kind of thing, those guns you unlocked later, so it kind of meant something when you got to a higher level, because you've actually got better guns, and they weren't, like I'm saying, they weren't overpowered. It's just like they were easier to use, you know. Like the PTRS, it was like, finally, I don't have to use the Mosin or something, you know, not like a bolt action anymore, but now it's just an easier sniper to use. So, but it seemed like some of these newer Call of Duties, it's like you might have a gun you unlock right off the bat, be the best gun in the game. It's kind of stuff weird like that, you know. It didn't really feel like you were working up to anything at a higher level, but for this game, it seemed like it was like that, you know, the higher levels you got to, it actually felt like you were progressing and getting to something better, and so it's kind of like that. But yeah, this is definitely my favorite Call of Duty, and it's a lot of fun. It's kind of a bummer that there's a lot of hackers and stuff on it now, but hopefully they'll make a remake of it and something like that. You know, I think they need to put like Call of Duty 4 or 5, just have them all in one, you know, and be really cool if it was like that. But I think they will eventually do something along those lines in the long run. But yeah, Call of Duty 5 is so much fun. There's also some things I didn't like so much about Call of Duty 5, kind of like the tanks and certain stuff like that. There were some negatives here and there, but they're so minute compared to the other Call of Duties that I can't even explain. And just the nostalgia, like I said before, that does get to you, but I can totally put the nostalgia aside and just look at the straight-up gameplay aspect, and I have more fun on this one in Call of Duty 4 than I have on any of the new ones. So, you know, it's kind of like that. I mean, just the sheer gameplay aspect of it was so good back in the day. And like I said, the maps and everything pulls together and makes just an amazing game overall. And the guns felt so different from each other. It seemed like some of these, that's another thing with some of these newer Call of Duties, is like every gun feels the same. They just look different. I don't know if some of you guys kind of felt that as well, but back in the day, like the difference between a Piche and a Type 100 and like a, you know, a M1 Grand, M1 Carbine, they actually felt different, you know, the way they shot and stuff, and the sounds they made were different, and it's just like nowadays everything's just an assault rifle or something, you know, just that kind of basic assault rifle. I don't know. Anyways, but Call of Duty 4, like I said, holds another place in my heart. Really love that game as well, but Call of Duty 5 edges it out just a little bit. So anyways, I love all these old school Call of Duties. I love all the Call of Duties. I mean, like I said, never hated on any of them. You just kind of got to accept the way they are. You know, it's not like you can change it. But anyways, so I appreciate all you guys watching these videos, and I'll keep on making them. Thanks, guys.